Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to our channel. My name is Beck. I am a professional mindset coach, a medical doctor, and the founder of the group coaching program, Dare Darling. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to anybody who's new. I usually just like to rewind a second and really welcome back to the people who keep coming back to this space. I'm so glad that I found you here on the internet and that we can keep expanding our minds and having that influence how we feel and how we act in the world, and ultimately make the world a better place because of that. So just a moment to say thank you, and I'm grateful for you. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so excited that you keep coming back to hang out and talk about these really important things. Now, today I wanted to talk about actually one of the most impactful, powerful concepts or frameworks that I've learned from coaching. And that is to acknowledge influence, but focus on control. And this is the way that I like to coach my clients towards when it comes to navigating the world in the way that acknowledges our true challenges and limitations of being a human and being this human ecosystem, and also maximizes our control, maximizes our ability to create the results that we want, that matter to us, that will make us feel happy with our lifetime, or just rested and satisfied when we put our heads on the pillow at night. So this video is to give you a nice sweet spot, give you a nice focus point for navigating this difficult landscape that often has people quite upset on the internet. Because in coaching, we will tend to, or at least the kind of coaching that I do with my clients, I am dedicated towards maximizing their empowerment. In fact, I call myself the disempowerment police. That's basically my job when I'm scanning their thoughts, when I'm hearing how their mind is working on a coaching call. I am scanning for sentences or implications of disempowerment, of where they're giving up pieces of what's in their control to the world. So why don't we start there with how this idea that you have more control than you think rubs a lot of people the wrong way. And I completely get it, because this actually was the thing that repelled me from coaching the most when I started. It's the thing that agitated me the most and made me just want to throw it all out the window at first, was this concept that I could control more than I thought, or I could control more than I was giving myself credit for, that things were in my control that I had decided were out of my control and therefore not my responsibility. That really upset me because it triggered a lot of insecurities about, the idea that I actually could control and influence those things. And it also triggered a lot of guilt because I hadn't controlled those things in the past. I hadn't taken responsibility for things that I actually had responsibility over. And that was really hard. It was really hard to face what felt like an avalanche of guilt that came part and parcel with accepting this concept that I had more control than I thought. And it's really important to acknowledge, because you'd think that receiving a concept like that on the surface level would only come with glee and joy and hope and excitement. Like, wow, I have so much more control than I think, which means I could create so many more amazing opportunities and possibilities in my life than I ever thought. Like, you would think it would just expand you and make you excited, but instead, our brain isn't so simple, and we project into the future, but also we look back in the past and we judge ourselves in this moment. And my brain is very good at judging me, which is why I find coaching so beneficial, to help me reroute from that automatic default that I have. So this is the same for my clients. My clients often find, and I've had several clients tell me that they were insulted by this initial concept that they had more control in these situations that we bring up in our lives, and that actually we could have done more. And actually we were blaming people who weren't necessarily entirely to blame, and that we were asking other people to change, to fix the problem, instead of recognizing our part in the problem too. And not only do I understand from a personal experiential perspective why this rubs people the wrong way. As I said, it was very difficult for me for many reasons to fully take this concept on board. But I also understand from a conceptual perspective, because it's true that even if we just take one really narrow, specific example in our lives and we tease that apart about who's to blame or who has responsibility here or what is actually in our control, there's a lot of nuance even in these little snapshots of our days too. And we can always make ourselves right by saying that it was out of our control and we don't have any control and that somebody else is to blame and somebody else should change. Let's take the example of commonly saying someone made you mad, right? We'll say the situation is you're coming to coaching and you're upset with this situation and you're saying, this person made me mad. And then the problems just kept going. Like, mad is a problem in itself for this person, but then also their behaviors were affected by them being mad as well. And we could say, well, that person came and did this thing and that affected me, that directly affected me. And if they didn't do that thing, then I wouldn't have ended up being mad. We can sit in this situation and we can say, isn't it fair that I'm mad in that situation? Isn't it normal that I would be mad in that situation? Isn't it understandable that I would be mad in that situation? And I could agree. I will agree. Yes, yes, and yes to all of those questions, actually. Yes, it's fair to be mad. Yes, it's understandable. Yes, it's normal to be mad if somebody said something offensive or wrong or attacking towards you. And I would say, just because it is fair, normal, or understandable that when that person says that thing, you become mad, it doesn't mean or make it true that them saying that thing created that reaction in you. It's still not true, right? So let's look at this situation. A person said a thing, and let's agree that it's understandable that you were mad in that situation. To say that that person caused you to be mad, they controlled your emotions, is true on some level, in that when they said those words, the default reaction of your mind was to create a thought that created anger, right? And that all happened without your conscious intervention. It all happened without your awareness or influence. It was almost a reflexive reaction. You didn't get to intervene on the thought before it happened and created that emotional effect in you. Remember, this is how the cognitive program works. Your thoughts create emotions, right? Thought occurs, which has an emotion associated with it. And then that emotion is what creates the behavior. That's the cognitive program. So in this way, it is true that the things that people do can affect us, but that's only half of the equation. Because we want to acknowledge as well, the moment you can get awareness of this happening, you can take conscious control of your reaction. And it might not be that you're able to go back up to the thought and reroute, have a different thought about the situation that's more aligned with who you are and what you actually think with your high level reasoning that then creates a different emotion. And therefore, because you've taken control of your thoughts, now you've had a different emotion. And that person, what they said, no longer makes you mad, right? They can be saying that thing, but because you have a different thought response, you're not being mad. That's how you have control in this situation. And ultimately, at the end of the day, this is the way in which you do have control of how you feel. Sure, they might be able to influence your emotion, but only to the point that you let yourself unconsciously accept what they said is true or whatever unconscious thought in you is causing that emotion. But ultimately, your thoughts are the gatekeeper to how you feel. They can only make you feel a certain way. They can only make you feel mad if you accept the thought that they prompted that makes you feel mad. The moment you can have awareness of your thoughts, or even just starting with your emotional reaction and working back to your thoughts, now they are no longer in control. So this is the nuance of influence and control. When we coach, I like to help my clients do two do two things. I like to help them acknowledge this influence that other people have by acknowledging that we don't always have conscious control of our minds, of the thoughts that our minds will default to. And sometimes we have to work quite hard to bring up the subconscious thoughts, what's happening below our awareness. Sometimes we have to work quite hard to bring that up to be able to have the opportunity to change it. And when we can recognize how exactly people can influence us, then we can maximize how much control we take because we can intervene on this influence process. I want my clients to understand how and why they are influenced by other people. And I want them to not necessarily jump straight to control all the time, but I want them to learn to understand themselves, to have compassion for themselves in the way that they're influenced, and sometimes understanding why they're influenced that way. Again, all with the purpose of stepping back into empowerment, because you can't be empowered simply by dismissing or resisting or denying the functioning of your mind, or telling yourself that you're being silly or that you shouldn't be influenced, or that, I don't know, your reasoning is terrible and invalid. Sometimes understanding why you were reactive, understanding and acknowledging that it's normal to react that way is one of the steps along the path to truly being empowered, as opposed to simply swapping thoughts over and always orientating back to empowerment. I think there needs to be space for compassion, because within empowerment, I think self-compassion is a core ingredient to be able to have self-trust, to be able to know that you have your own back, to be able to know that you can step into difficult situations and you're not going to just abandon yourself. You're going to take care of yourself. You are your best teammate and best supporter, which is something that you need to feel strong, resilient, empowered. So my beautiful friends, if you know that this is the kind of work that would improve your life, and if you know that you are looking for examples and inspiration from other people doing this very same work at your very same level, at the level of the woman who's already very successful, she's already shown that she can work hard, achieve what she sets her mind to. She has a strong sense of integrity, and it's not that anything is necessarily wrong in her life, but it's just that integrity is important to her, and so she's doing the work to always be more and more integrous. If these are the kinds of people that you want to be inspired by and influenced by, then my beautiful friends, Dear Darling, my group coaching program is the space for you. You'll find the link below to find out more. All right, my beautiful friends, love you so much, and I'll see you in my next one.